Better to have one of these in your fingers.
And I think we are live.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see you again, George.
Welcome back, Josh. Been a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Trying to think, as we were chatting about before we really got started, you want to maybe arrange that camera? It looks a little weird. How long has it actually been since it's just been you and me on a stream?
I want to say it was probably like a couple years at least. I want to say the last one was probably like 2022 maybe.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, it was when we had the big studio at Northtown. Mm-hmm. I think we did a few streams from there. That was kind of fun. So, yeah, a few things have changed since then, but I think for the most part for the better. And now here we are. We got some cool things to talk about. The company's evolving. We finally have bearings in a product.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah. But as people are just kind of coming in, we were talking about negative highs.
Yeah,
right?
We saw some people talking about the temperature in there, and that was kind of amusing because G4 behind the camera, and George and I were talking about the upcoming extremely cold weather, and for those that are uninitiated, Wisconsin is kind of known for the cold. Like right now, it's 22 roughly outside, and I would say that kind of feels warm. But on Friday, it's supposed to be a low of negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 1 degree Fahrenheit for the high, with a wind chill negative 48. And so it's kind of nuts. They actually, the Weather Service put out an alert to just let people know about possible exploding trees due to the sap rapidly expanding, sounding like gunshots taking off. So that's a very rare occurrence. But I'm not looking forward to that level of cold because I have multiple dogs that have to go outside, and they're not going to be too happy about it either.
So you can't sit inside and just enjoy the solace.
If only, but I'm not a smoker, so that's a positive. So, like, if there's ever a time to be thankful for not combusting, it's weather like this.
That's one good way to describe it. Yeah. Swing it a little bit towards Josh. There, that looks a little bit more centered. All right, cool. Yeah, I've always thought about that. You know, when I see the people taking their break outside when the weather's just yucky.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think, well, you know, there's actually interesting, and this is something I don't think gets talked about very often, the health benefits of smoking. Okay, and I'm not actually trying to be funny. Okay, it's not unusual that smokers, in some regards, are actually healthier than some of their non-smoking counterparts because they get up and move regularly. They go outside, and even though they're getting a few breaths here and there of rather not fresh air, in between there's some nice breaths of actually fresh air. You know, so and they're getting some exercise. Getting up and walking to wherever the smoking area is and then walking back.
Yeah, for me personally, I definitely prefer like foods and like drinks to be smoked instead of my lungs.
Yeah, I'm there. In fact, I think you're drinking some smoke right now.
Yes, this is a smoked tea, correct, George?
It's a smoked tea.
Yeah, and it's delicious.
So that's kind of if someone in the chat will probably correct me if I'm incorrect here, but I think it's a somewhat traditional Chinese smoked black tea, Lapsang Souchong, which I might be butchering the pronunciation, but it's typically smoked with pine needles.
Okay.
Which, there's not a lot of foods that are smoked with pine.
No, not that I can think of, but it kind of gives me little hints of like almost a mezcal. In terms of its smokiness, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, I think it's a nice one.
That's actually a good question though that I see from Encrypted. Do you think cigarette carbon filters would work inside the stems to like potentially clean, or do you think there would be more detrimental effects?
Well, it depends on how we break down defining work. Would your device still function? Sure it would. Would you filter some stuff out? Absolutely. Would you reduce the transfer efficiency of getting what you want out of your material? Probably that too. And what exactly are you trying to filter out?
Yeah, I almost imagine it would kind of be like the people that are say there's two strong camps when it comes to water piece usage, wet and dry.
Okay.
It's kind of like the people who, because I'm in this camp, I like the added humidity, but you definitely lose some of those compounds just being condensed or stuck to the sides of the glass. Yeah. Compared to a dry piece. But I imagine a carbon filter would hold on to a lot more just due to how tightly packed that is.
Oh, I think it would. For sure. Especially the initial contact with each draw, because I think it actually brings a really interesting topic to the table for discussion, and that is whether you're using a water piece or you're using some other sort of cooling apparatus. Literally anything that is in the vapor path reduces what you get to some degree. Yeah, a dry piece, it's going to be less than filling a bong with ice water, which is, especially if you're doing a thermal extraction, probably the best way to reduce your transfer efficiency. When I say transfer efficiency, I mean the compounds that you pull out of your chamber with the intent of ingesting them. When you bring that vapor into contact with something that's cold, you condense a higher percentage of it. When you bring it in contact with any surface, you're going to condense some of it. And so when your vapor hits a filter, well, that filter is below the vaporization temperature, so then it facilitates condensation, and boom, you end up with reclaim instead of filtered vapor, at least to some degree.
Yeah. I see someone in there being like, the stream is reminding me early enough in the day that I absolutely need to clean their piece. Now, George, do you have a regimen or like a schedule when it comes to cleaning your pieces, or like how frequently
Yes,
do you?
Absolutely. Boy, I need to create something new. Or do I need to modify something, or do we have another part that needs to be tested? Am I going to go somewhere? That's usually a good initiator for cleaning. Because
Yep.
the thing is, and you get this, I think, a fair bit as well, because you're definitely one of the more, let's say, how do I describe it? In terms of your position on the internal testing team. So you get a copy of almost everything that we're looking to bring to market.
Yeah, and so like I tend to be, I would say, pretty slow when it comes to cleaning. Just because I like to see how much I can abuse something before it stops working.
Right.
But there's also, I think, a degree of laziness behind there too. Like, I'll wait until like, hey, if I take apart this device, is it going to come apart easily, or am I getting like reclaim all over my fingers? But there's also just a lot of different pieces in the rotation.
Right.
But like, yeah, it's tricky. Like, I definitely don't have a routine cadence. It's typically hold off until as long as I can until I accidentally push something to combustion. Then it's like, well, this has to get cleaned now. It gets
now it's on the
now.
clean pile for sure.
Yeah, it gets put in the dirty pile and soak in the ISO bath or the ultrasonic cleaner.
So I did want to dwell a little bit on a term that you used that I'm not sure if I agree with it, and that's lazy. Because, I don't know, I think about it from an operational efficiency perspective.
So I do that. That's a good way of putting it. I actually use that phrase all the time. Like when I'm either at the gym or doing something, and I'll do something in a very efficient manner, but it just looks as incredibly lazy. Be like, oh, why are you doing it that way? It's because I want to take the least amount of, like, when breaking things down with physics, using the least amount of work to get the most amount of output.
Right.
That's typically how I operate.
It's kind of I don't know if you're familiar with the principles of lean manufacturing, but that's kind of right there at the core. Is, okay, we have to do this work. How do we get that work done with as little effort as possible? And, some people might say, well, just stop being lazy and just do the work. Well, if you want to be an efficient company, you got to take it a couple steps further, because if we aren't seeking more efficient ways to get things done, how do we progress?
Yeah, and I try to view that almost too from the same lens of, like, when we're testing products internally, is the amount of work that I have to put in to get the extraction equal to the amount of work that I put in. I find something too, like, I tend to approach something like seshing. I don't want it to be a whole process. That's what drew me to Dynavap. And like, I enjoy the ritual, but at the same time, I want that ritual to be second nature. I don't want added unnecessary steps unless they're adding something for me.
Right, something appealing.
It needs to add something new. And just a little bit of a tangent there, I did see a comment come in asking about, like, when they clean their pieces, do you just drop in the whole tip with the CCD in there, or do you remove the CCD? Like,
Yeah, what do you do?
I typically, depending on how dirty it is, I'll just chuck the tip in there.
Yep.
And let that soak. If I still find that the CCD has like particulate matter trapped in there, at that point, I'll pop it out and scrub it or swap it out with a new one. But again, it gets back to that. If I don't need to do something, I'm probably not going to unless there is a strong benefit. So unless it's
Right.
impacting airflow, flavor, then I don't see the purpose, because I'm just more likely to lose the CCD because
Right.
I am a clumsy individual.
And they do tend to evaporate.
There's been a couple times where I will forget to, put my finger over the top when I'm popping it out, and it'll go flying. And that, because I don't always have CCDs laying around at home. And then it's like, oh crap, I really want to use this tip, so I'm having to take the CCD from one
Now you're
tip, put it in
borrowing.
the other, and then then it becomes a whole process that I want to avoid.
Right. No, I love it. Where is it? Brazil. Dynavapes are prohibited because any containing the word vaporizer is forbidden. Well, actually, that should be improved now, because with our new packaging, none of the international packaging has the word vaporizer on it, correct?
Yep, that's all intentional too. It's a little bit of a headache on the back end internally, because we maintain two separate SKUs when it comes to
Inventory.
So
Right.
we have ones that say dryer vaporizer, because in a storefront, especially in the States, thermal extraction is still a relatively novel term
Right.
in the industry. And so, like, if people are just shopping, not necessarily talking to an associate in a store, they know what a dryer vaporizer is, but thermal extraction is something new. And so it requires another, hey, what is this? And people don't like asking what something is in a store.
No.
Typically, because it's like, it makes them feel like, oh, there's like that immediate like intrinsic gatekeeping in place. But then on the international side, we say thermal extraction device on everything, because it gets around that issue of vaporizer. I do know, like, with Brazilian customs, there's still also some like other issues just with them processing packages incredibly slow for us.
Brazil has been difficult. And funny enough, so is Mexico, of all places. India, another country that's just been difficult. There is a community of enthusiasts there, and we certainly want to do a better job serving. But doggone it, the delivery options are just not good right now.
Yeah, like you don't have full, like, non-nationalized courier service necessarily available,
No.
and the localized courier service doesn't necessarily have to destination tracking, which is a very, very big hurdle when you're talking like dealing with e-commerce, because you want to make sure that you can track and trace, when
Yeah.
something gets delivered. But the best thing I would say, like, if you really want, talk to your local businesses, because like getting stuff through via wholesale for some reason or another is much, much easier.
I think that's probably a good topic to dwell on a little bit, because since you're rather adjacent to our fulfillment department, I think you get a fair bit of insight in terms of some of the challenges that our international customers are contending with. And so if we talk about that, we've got retailers that we sell our product wholesale to, which means we're sending a commercial shipment to them instead of sending a retail shipment to a customer, which actually simplifies the whole customs and import process for the most part. And then, although those other retailers may not have the entire selection that we have on our website, they at least have stuff, and in many cases in country, so you're going to get it faster.
100%. And I would say the other factor too that rolls into that is just space availability. So like that's one benefit by us for Dynavap being the manufacturer in the States. We have virtually unlimited space for storage of different unique units and things like that.
Right.
Whereas storage space in the EU
In the storefronts.
comes at a much higher premium, because
Right.
every additional product that you put in a spot, that's taking the spot from something else. And so you have to be a lot more strategic as to, hey, is this going to move enough units, or is something going to take, is it more important to make sure that we have, say, like a Halo tip in store because it's going to move far more units and support more retailer clients out there versus, a single tip that we may only have like 30 of.
Yeah, different for us, but also something that I think we were talking about before we even started the stream, something that we're hopeful to be sharing a little bit more, especially on streams like this, is that we've got some rather obscure little things that have actually been somewhat challenging for us to even put on our own website because of all the process we need to go through in terms of taking the picture and having specific descriptions, and now, well, we got to have how many copies of this versus when we're just showing it on a stream, like this, where the close-up camera's like, okay, we've got 3 of these. They're on the website right now.
Yeah.
Here's the SKU. And when they're sold out, they're gone. Because, wow, do we have a lot of odd, unusual things just from the development process.
Yeah, like immediately when sitting down here, I saw this Hyperdyne.
Yeah.
George, you have the ability to turn on
Oh,
the
yeah,
close-up.
so the close-up's right here.
Yeah, like this thing immediately caught my eye. This Hyperdyne and this unique thermal hyper tip with different texture on it.
Yeah.
I thought that was immediately grabbed my attention.
Yeah.
Even though like I'm primarily running the Vong X now, just because I love how that hits so much. I still the Hyperdyne is the second most used in my rotation.
Okay, I should put the mouthpiece on.
And I do see that we did a giveaway in Rotorium one, so congrats to you.
Yeah.
Hello, Vince. Happy to see you in here.
Yeah, just fun little stuff. So, you like the Hyperdyne. Mm-hmm. And how's the Vong X been? And then, of course, I think one of the big topics for us to chat about today, since that's what we're doing on the giveaway, is Spindly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Spindly, like, I know we've talked a lot about just, like, like, you probably saw, and maybe the mic was picking up and irritating all of you watching, but Tommy, who you've talked to, if you've reached out to our customer service or received a shipment from us, his hands have been involved in some way, shape, or form. But he and I are seated like right next to each other in the cubicles, and it's a cacophony of just constant spinning.
Yeah, well.
Like it's good for my ADHD. But one thing I think is important to mention, where I think it has a strong benefit, are those with maybe dexterity issues or mobility issues in a single hand, where like you can spin it really fast, but you can also just like little flicks and hold it with a torch. And then you also have the ability to, like, if you want to use a torch while also have...
You don't have to heat it all the way up, but it's just good for illustration.
Yeah,
right?
You can spin and heat up that way, so you can kind of get a cold start off of your herb using the Spindly, which is really nice. I really like using that with an induction heater, but there have been many times where I'm like, a torch is just easier. And two, I think there's also something too just about bringing flour to a water piece that scratches something in our old stoner brains, where it's like reminds you of doing an old bong rip,
right?
Just with updated technology,
which is kind of fun. Mm-hmm. And then of course there's the compact carry, which a lot of the lighters that we have, they just fit right in your pocket.
Yeah, and I typically most of the time I will have one on me, and so
this is what's in my pocket.
Yeah, the DynaJosh, that's been my go-to, like that one, and then either the Blazer. I won't carry like a big one, but like the DynaJosh is usually my go-to that I just carry around in my pocket, because it also works really good as a stand. Like as long as I have a table or some type of surface in front of me, I don't have to worry about holding it to the torch or something like that.
Right, or setting it down when it's hot, etc. I mean, that's one of the best things about the DynaJosh is you can heat it up and
built-in stand.
Put it on the table and just set it down when you're done. It doesn't roll away, and you don't have to worry about the heat.
Yeah, I see a lot of love for the mini wind. Like that's something that I know since we did our couple limited drops on it. It's something that's consistently like asked for. I do hope that we do another run of those at some point. I'm sure you do as well.
I think we will. I mean, I'm a big fan of small, right? And it's funny because if you see all the stuff that's around me, if you ever come for a visit, I'm sure I don't come across as a minimalist. But I do have a real appreciation for the fact that I can have a lighter that's not terribly big. And you take the Mini-Wind, for example. Well, the Mini-Wind could damn near fit inside the lighter. And now I've got almost everything I need in this tiny little package.
Well, another benefit to it, and this is like one of those things that gets back to that amount of work equation.
Right.
I love that the adjuster on the bottom, you don't need to use like your fingernail or anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just an easy twist. Like if something's easy, I'm more likely to go back to it repeatedly, and that's ultimately what I'm looking for. I want something that becomes habitual or thoughtless when I go to it, so I can enjoy the time with friends, the conversation, the benefits that you know seshing with people can bring, and not making necessarily the consumption the highlight. It's bringing people together.
You don't want the consumption to become a distraction from the moment. And something else that I think is, and I'm really glad you bring up the adjustment on the bottom of the lighter. That was a very, very intentional thing. So the DynaJosh is actually based on the Honest torch with the angled head that our customers generally really liked. It was a good lighter, especially for the price. But it had one of those annoying little adjusters you'd use your fingernail for. And I distinctly remember having the conversations with the manufacturer, like, no, I want the biggest adjuster we can get possible on the bottom of this because I don't want the need for a tool. And the result is, if I don't like my flame, I can flip it over in one hand and I can adjust it and I can check again with one hand. So if you don't have good dexterity or whatnot, or you simply don't have another hand available, you can adjust the lighter without having to put down what's in your other hand, or if you again don't have a good hand available, you can just adjust it. Piece of cake, which is nice, especially when you're dealing with major temperature fluctuations. That adjustment kind of matters.
Well, and I think that highlights another thing. It's with Dynavap, I think accessibility is something that has always been a core tenet, but not necessarily always at the forefront. So like that torch is far more accessible.
DynaTorch available in Europe? Yeah. DynaTorch is available in the EU store.
But it's very accessible for people who, again, may have that limited mobility, just like the Spindly. But that can also tie to another thing that, another product that just came out, which is the cap armor.
Yes.
Because that's another one where not everyone has the ability to, or necessarily the budget to afford an induction heater, or they don't have the function to necessarily have the technique to get a one-hit extraction, and it makes it effortless and easy. It adds another layer of customization because you can pair it with, the perf cap, the low temp cap. The low temp cap has been one that I've really enjoyed, especially if I have something really tasty, because my issue, because I love it, but I always found that because you're clicking at a low temp and there's not a lot of mass, it would drop out of that zone quicker. Where now with the cap armor, I can put that in there, and I'm able to maintain that temperature for longer. And I find that really, really enjoyable, particularly like with some really delicious strains that I want to be able to savor that for as long as possible.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think you make a really, really good point there. So the cap armor simplifies things. The cap armor, I think, is also worth mentioning. It is another alternative to some dexterity things. Yeah, the Spindly makes it easier to get a more even heat distribution, but so does the cap armor, right? Because you've got that extra mass and an extra wall thickness that helps to diffuse that heat, so you don't end up with a real hot spot. Have you messed around much with not rotating your cap armor just to see what happens?
That's typically how I will operate it.
Really? No rotation? No kidding?
Yep. And I find that it functions well enough where I'm like, you know what, that does the trick. I don't find that it got enough or too much of a hot spot where I'm like, that's not heating consistently enough. Or I'm like, that achieved the objective for me with the downsides not playing too big of a part.
Okay, so this gets us right back to your incessant seeking of operational efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have to rotate, why?
Yeah, and for me, like I've used like so when I view the cap armor, it's like if I don't want to deal with an induction heater and I just want like a really lazy one-hit extraction, I love the cap armor for that purpose because I don't need to think about it. It's also really good too for like my wife. Her technique when using a Dynavap isn't necessarily the best.
Okay.
And I don't always like to have to be in the driver's seat and being like, okay, I'll heat and I'll pass.
Right.
The cap armor, I can just be like, here you go, you do it. I'm going to sit back and relax now. And it takes the guesswork out of it. So it's it can also be viewed as like training wheels to a degree. Like if you're just getting into it and you're like, because I'm sure you've seen it at like trade shows and things like that, when you hand someone like an M, for example, there is an innate propensity to just aim the flame and not rotate. Right. And that rotating is such an important piece if you don't have something
with mass.
Yeah, something with mass to kind of act as a buffer.
Okay. So I can't quite see the last word from Ravens about the color caps.
Yeah, George, I'm a little confused. So if what to use the cap armor, I can protect the color caps. So you can use the PVD caps on there. It's just one of those, I would say, I wouldn't do it like with something that you particularly cherish because there is a potential for it to get, a little bit of a surface scratch or something alongside it.
And I think that's a good thing to just touch on since we're talking about cap armor. Okay, so cap armor is a product that I think we've been wanting to figure out and bring to market for a long time. I think it's a little bit more of, I'm going to almost say what we were kind of aiming for when the armored cap came out. We were just trying to find what's the best way to get there efficiently. And when we did a little trial, Jason and I did, I think last summer, when we were making another run of armored caps, we were just chasing these questions like, well, can we potentially make an armored cap that actually just snaps onto the cap and uses the fact that our caps are relatively thin sheet metal, so they're going to have a little bit of a spring to them. That's how they hold onto the tips, right? Well, there's not a lot of spring on the end, but is there just enough that if we have a really precisely machined geometry that we can actually get the thing to snap on and stay there reliably? And it proved that it was possible, but we still weren't sure what were the trade-offs going to be. And it seems like right now we're at a level where the trade-offs are pretty good. The caps have a little bit of variance in them, so some caps are going to fit a little bit tighter than others. Because we're trying to maintain a high precision machine product, there is still a little bit of variance. You may end up with small little tiny dents where it clicks onto that cap. These don't affect performance, and that's why we continue to pursue it, because I think the trade-off is worthwhile. But that's why we put the caution that don't use it with a colored cap. It's not that it won't work. It'll work fine.
Yeah, I've used it on my own personal ones. But again, like if a person, maybe spent a lot of time tracking down a Rosium cap, and it's very valuable to them because it's not something that we routinely offer. Like the last thing you'd want is someone to use that and then see that there's a little surface blemish now after removing it. We don't want people to have that negative experience. So just setting those expectations from the get-go. One thing that we haven't mentioned, at least on this stream, I don't know if you've mentioned on another one, but another benefit of cap armor versus the armor cap is ease of adjustment. Because you have different tips that might have a slightly different tolerance. It's as easy as just adjusting your cap. It's not a different process. It's just remove it, adjust it how you normally would, and put it back on, and it's going to fit the same way as the regular cap does.
Right, so you can really get your caps dialed in. And I think since we're talking about adjusting caps, let's talk a little bit more about adjusting caps. Because, how many caps have you handled, Josh? I'm sure it's more than a few.
Oh, it's got to be in the thousands now.
Okay. And the reality is, you've had some caps, likely in some part of your rotation, for years. Mm-hmm. Do you have caps that never need adjustment? But there's also caps that certainly need adjustment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Okay. And you know where they're made, and you know how to adjust them, and it's not that you adjust it once and it's perfect forever. There's just factors, and some of them I think are, believe it or not, just the internal stress in the metal from how they're made and how they've been heated. They just change a little bit from time to time. So a little bit of adjustment just helps to maintain the consistency of the experience.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So, what do I see?
Where can I find a link to the Discord?
I'm sure it'll pop up in the stream.
It'll pop up in a little bit.
Yeah.
And Jillian Seed, what do you mean by adjust it? So, like, for example, I can kind of demonstrate this on the wide camera here. But
unless
you want to pass me the YLL.
Sure.
So, like, some people, they want their cap to come off with the magnet really easy. Other people, they'll want that a little bit more secure because they don't want to risk that cap coming off when they don't want to.
And getting some carpet.
Yep, and getting some carpet. So I'm going to quick tighten this up. Put that cap armor back on. And now it's not coming off anymore.
Okay. Well, you took that off really easily.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and to remove, I like to just press my thumb on the digger outer.
Right.
Provided that the tip I'm using is a flat surface. If I'm using it on like the Halo tip or the M7 where there's a slant, I'll use the mouthpiece end, but just use that.
Okay, that's a really good tip because the Halo and the M7 have this taper. Mm-hmm. That means if you push hard on the digger outer, you're going to bend it.
Yeah, and I don't want that. Like, I want things to stay as much as they can as they should. So like the Vong X tip works really well. The older Omni, the Vong, the 5 fins, but to adjust, you'll have these, and this is for the captive cap. You have these little detents on the side. Just give it a little squeeze in between your fingertips, and that'll tighten it up. To loosen, rotate 90 degrees, squeeze there. That'll loosen it slightly, and yeah, it's super easy to do. It's usually, I would describe as a best practice, particularly whenever I'm using a new tip or cap configuration, because the last thing I want is that hot cap coming off when I don't want it to.
No, that's undesirable.
Mm-hmm.
And very preventable if we just do a simple systems check, prior to takeoff. So yeah, really, really good tips there, Josh. And especially with the cap armor removal, I think another thing is probably worth mentioning regarding cap armor is I think the first time you remove it tends to be the most difficult.
100% agree.
And, this is something that as we get more experience with making these and we get more of them out there and we get more feedback and we just get adventurous and try other various things for how we're making them and what we do during that process, I anticipate that's only going to continue to improve because that's just, I think, a sign of a good manufacturer.
Yep.
You keep making things better.
Iteration is what leads to improvement.
Absolutely. It also leads to improved operational efficiency. Because really, what are we seeking? We're seeking to lower the effort threshold and achieve a similar outcome.
Seems to be a consistent theme with this stream.
Oh.
But I think it's a very important factor because I think that goes down to just, it's how do you create habits? And because people going psychologically tend to take the path of least resistance.
Yes.
And so if you make something more challenging than it ought to be, people are going to take a shortcut, and that shortcut may not lead to the best experience possible.
Right.
So I think it's part of our job doing what we do to make sure that the path of least resistance for you will also lead to the best experience possible.
I couldn't agree more. It's literally our job to find ways to streamline the process. You know, finally putting bearings in a product, I think, certainly adds that facet to the mix, right?
It's something that, and I've been looking forward to something with bearings literally since my very first day starting at DynaVap. If you remember back when the DynaVap live studio was back in what's now R&D in this building, there was a little, essentially this, slightly bigger, the spindly, that was spinning. It was something that was being worked on way back in like 2018, and I think just got put back on the back burner for a long time. But it's something that I always found very fun and intriguing because like I saw it because like my mom, she was starting to use our products right around that time.
Okay.
But she had arthritis in her wrists and stuff like that. So, like, that's something, when I saw that, because this was before induction heaters were even a thing for us.
Right.
And my mind immediately was like, that would be perfect for her because it takes that barrier away, and it's just easier for her to use.
Right. And that was before armored caps and other ways to add mass.
Yeah, that was
all kinds of things.
That was even before, like, the very first, like, dark unit, like the Shadow, going way back there.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Wow, things have shifted and changed a little bit since then. I mean, we got a much broader selection of titanium parts available, quite a selection of colors, and more colors coming. I mean, we showed off some of them today. You know, the unusual things that we've done along the way, where I think we did our first experiment. Was it just a week ago? I think it was, where we offered a product for sale only during the stream. And that was the people on that stream were able to pre-buy the Spinleys, which, by the way, go on sale tomorrow.
Yep, tomorrow. I believe in the morning, if I remember correctly.
Early morning.
Yep.
So, like, tomorrow morning for even people in Europe.
Yeah, so that'll be available, and I think, what's the price on that, George? I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Pretty sure it's $35 US.
So not a bad price at all, especially like if your goal is for like if you're trying to save money and increase like your ability to use a device, whether it be the cap armor or the spindly, depending on what type of experience you're going for, both of them are going to be a very cost-effective way to kind of use a product without needing an induction heater if you have limited mobility.
Well, it's interesting because it's two very, very different approaches for a somewhat similar outcome. So what happens if you put them together?
I personally have not tried that so far, but what I have been doing, and this kind of gets more to the fidgetability thing.
Yeah.
I've noticed like when I spin the one and I stop, the cap armor will continue spinning just due to the inertia.
That's fantastic.
And that also highlights too why like people really like it with the perf cap, because the reason why it's able to continue spinning is because you have a small little air gap, and so that allows the cap armor to heat the air rapidly as it comes through those perforations, so you're getting more of that convection type of experience too.
I think that actually makes a pretty big difference in comparison to using a perf cap by itself, because in that situation, the air coming through the perforations is ambient temperature, so it cools your chamber faster. But having the cap armor on there, now we've kind of created a bit of a makeshift heat exchanger, which is kind of fun. Have you noticed much of a flavor difference by doing it that way?
I do. So that has been, like, that's why I brought up, like, the low temp cap. Both of those I will use kind of, like, interchangeably when I've been trying, like, a new strain.
Okay, so tell us more. I want to understand this, you know, because I look at you, Josh, as someone that's a fair bit more of a connoisseur than I would be.
Yeah, so, like, when I will go to, like, the special stores where you get where you get your cookies, the bakery, if you will. I tend to, I'll get something that, I never go in there and just get one thing. I typically will get something that's more budget conscious that I can use like every day, and then I'll usually get like a half ounce of something that is
Some really good cookie dough.
yes, that is highly flavorful, typically more like sweet or fruit forward, and that is where I tend to use those two.
Okay.
But the low temp I notice is good for like getting those low temp terpenes that would otherwise be boiled off. And then I will try it again with the perf cap when, like, okay, I've experienced those lower temp terpenes.
Okay.
Now I just want to get more of a convection forward, so getting more of that richness from the strain.
Okay. So now, just to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, you're talking about in both situations using the low temp cap or the perforated cap with the cap armor.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Because it diffuses the heat a bit more and also extends the extraction time.
Correct. And that to me is a big thing because I'm sure you've experienced this too. Like, you can go back, like if you don't finish an extraction in one heat cycle, you can go back and finish it, but it's kind of like you're experiencing leftovers to a degree because you have some of that carryover heat transferring from the from the tip into the herb. So you're losing some of those terpenes just from waiting it to cool down. So I want to minimize that window as much as I can, either by extracting it on the front end or by decreasing that window on the back end.
Okay. So now if we just switch seats for a second and you're engineering the product, do you want more mass in the cap armor or do you want less?
For me, I prefer more mass. It's kind of like, it's the same way, and I might even be an outlier here because, like, to bring up the DynaCoil, like, to kind of explain it, because that's just how my brain works is with analogies.
Good.
Concentrates tend to be very, very flavorful.
Right.
And sure, titanium, you get a little bit, I would say, more of a neutral flavor profile.
Right.
However, I want to be able to maintain that flavor for a longer period. So I was always a person who would use a DynaCoil almost exclusively in a stainless steel tip because I wanted that heat retention.
Okay.
Because sure, I can cool it down, but again, then I'm worried about waste. And if I'm using something for that purpose, I want to minimize my waste as much as possible. So it depends on, like, if I'm at the tail end of a sesh where I'm like, I'm just going to have a little bit, then fine, I'll take the less mass approach. But if I'm more towards the beginning and my tolerance is like early on, I have a lot of gas left in the tank, I'm going to go for the higher mass option because I know I'm going to be able to, you know, complete that extraction in one go and really be able to savor that.
Okay. So maybe just compare for us using the cap armor versus using a regular cap and spinning. Because the cap armor, it takes longer to heat up, but are we really cooking things? Are we losing a lot of the terpenes in the process because it takes longer and we're getting things hot for an extended period of time before we start hitting on it? Or what's your experience been regarding that?
I would say it depends on how long you are inhaling for. If you're the kind of person that is taking short little puffs and doing more heat ups routinely, then I would say the cap armor is not going to have as big of an initial benefit.
Okay.
But if you're a person that wants to typically, you're taking your drop until the cool down click. That's where you're going to see more of that benefit because your lungs are not the limiting factor in the experience. It would be like the cap armor in that situation.
It's the retained heat in your oven.
Correct.
In that system.
Yeah. So like if you have like limited lung capacity and you're like 1-2 puffs and then setting it down on magnet and letting it sit there because you're at your capacity for what you can take, whether it be in terms of like on your throat, lung capacity, all those variables in play, or if you're the type of person who's like, no, it's fine, I'm going to continue going, like you're the kind of person that's using a thermal hypercap and clearing that sucker in one go, the cap armor is probably going to be a good option for you with a standard size cap if you want that type of density and thoroughness and extraction.
Okay. Now, since we're talking about mass and extraction and all this other good stuff, we just released the Vong X recently, which is funny as it might have it, our highest mass tip ever, even more mass than the hyper tip. Well, we got all that extra mass there. How does that pair with the cap armor?
So interesting thing. So in the testing, that was a combination for me personally. I didn't like all that much.
Okay.
Because I found that it was like, it's kind of like when too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing, and it's like you're adding so much mass on both the tip and the cap. I found that it was just soaking into the once you had the heat transfer into the cap armor, it was then transferring into the tip rather than so much into the herb.
Okay.
In my personal experience, that was one I was like, there's enough mass on just that tip alone. I'm able to get a full extraction without needing anything else.
Okay.
And so it was just like throwing more onto it when it didn't need it. I'm like, that's a combination for me personally. Other people may have different experiences. That was one I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to use that on that combination all that much because I love the Vong X tip by itself.
Well, it's really interesting to hear you put it that way because we're talking about very different products here between the Vong X tip and cap armor on a different tip. So that being the case, when we're talking about mass, well, and you mentioned using the low temp cap with your cap armor and the perforated cap with your cap armor. Well, what tip, since the Vong X tip is not your preferred one with that combination, what kind of tips do you like? Do you lean more towards the titanium ones now because the cap armor takes care of the mass factor?
I really like it with the tie tip because I'm then getting a lot of that benefits of like that neutral flavor profile and also ensuring that, there's less conduction in place from that tip. So I'm getting more of that flavor forward experience.
Okay.
But I've found that I really like it with the Halo tip, the old 5 fins, the Omni, the previous generation Vong tip, really like it on those.
Okay.
And hell, even the M7, I really like it on. And that's more of a, I would say, a somewhat higher mass tip.
Yes, it is.
Like compared to the Vong X, most certainly not.
No.
But I think it's not as high where it's like too much of a good thing. I think it still performs very, very well in that capacity.
Right. I think I heard a forklift. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense to me then. And I was just looking around at the stuff on my table. Look at this cool Iridyne here. This has a really low mass chamber.
I've found that because like the Unidyne is one with a captive cap. I absolutely love that. It reminds me so much of the old like Omnivap XL type of experience where it's so lightweight. And you have a lot of, with the condenser placement, it reminds me so much of that experience. But with the cap armor, I really like the roast that I'm able to get off of that because it holds the heat. It doesn't transfer a ton to the rest of the midsection due to that thermal break that you have in place. Right. But you're able to get amazing flavor out of it.
So, see, this really resonates with me because I look at the Unidyne, especially the Unidyne, just as a device with a regular captive cap, as kind of like a sports bike. This thing is really, really fast because I don't know how we can get much less mass and still have it be functional, right? Especially in the extraction chamber. So I think I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum in terms of I'm just going to heat it up as fast as possible, take one little puff, and just set it down. And not only do I want to heat it up fast, but I want it to cool down as fast as possible so I'm not continuing to boil and oxidize what's left in the oven.
Another benefit to, and I recommend the Unidyne a lot to people within like the ultralight backpacking space where they're cutting the ends of their shoestrings or their toothbrush.
Just to save grams.
To save grams. That's the perfect device for that use case because it's insanely light, while still is able to pack a really big punch. And I find that, whether you're using, regardless of heat source, you can get a really good roast on that.
Well, camping and backpacking, I think brings up one of my favorite things to do with our little thermal extraction devices that we make here, and that's sitting around the campfire and heating with the stick out of the campfire.
I've
right?
done that a couple times.
I don't know what it is, but it's just particularly satisfying that I'd like to bake some cookies right now. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like getting up. I don't feel like using my lighter either. I'm enjoying the fire and the company. Yeah, let's just roll it on the cherry on the end of a stick.
At JP, who you may have seen on like social media, goes as High Priority NYC. He's been experimenting a ton of heating with like hookah coals.
Sure.
And preaches to no end about that type of experience. He absolutely loves it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, but because he had hit me up probably a year or so ago. He's like, do you think this would work? And I'm like, I don't know. I've not personally tried it, but go for it and let me know.
Yeah.
And he did, and he always like, oh, you got to try it every time I talk to him.
Well, I think it's just really fun in the regard that when we just look at the function of the product, by removing the energy source, look at what it enables. We get all these different parts and pieces, and you can just mix and match. You can kind of really dial in, especially once you understand, well, if I put on this lightweight titanium tip, it's going to heat up faster. Mm-hmm. It's going to have a more neutral flavor profile. If I want a bigger rip, maybe I'm going to put on this stainless tip like the Vong X, or I'm going to supplement my mass with some cap armor. Or I want a fidgety toy, but I don't want a fidgety toy and a device in my pocket. Well, now I can have both all in one.
Yeah, it's almost like a little Swiss Army knife mixed with Legos. And I think that modularity aspect is so... It's something that's so important because, you know, an M may not be... It's our most popular device by far, but it's not one size fits all. You may have someone that who loves the M midsection.
Yep.
Doesn't care for the tip. Well, change out the tip.
Change it out.
Vice versa.
Yep.
You have virtually endless possibilities at this point to mix and match parts, and I've seen some really crazy combos at this point. Like, you were the one that showed me, I think, that putting different tips on the Unidyne. So, like, if you want to be able to, you know, just snap in an M tip, you can. Like, that's all something that is been, save for the G3, that backwards compatibility and modularity is paramount to our product line, and I don't see going away anytime soon.
No, it's just too darn important. Like here, so one of the things about the Unidyne that's a little bit different is, and you'll also find this with the B2 tips, is we reduced the chamber inside diameter just a little bit because it was really close to the diameter of the stems. So this means a mouthpiece fits in there, and it's not as tight as when you put in a stem, but it works. Mm-hmm. And so now I can put a spindly and a hyper tip in the backside of my Unidyne, and I've just got a completely different device, which I just think is fun.
You know, you flipping the stem the other way around. That's another thing that another wrinkle that I don't always think about, because like Hyperdyne. Designed with that in mind, but going back to the old M designs when we would have the spinning mouthpiece, that was recommended. Flip that because you're going to have cleaner lines. Aesthetically. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to really determine what works best for your experience. Just because like George, myself, or customer service is like, hey, recommend this. Yeah. If you like something else more, that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong because we don't vouch for it. Yeah. Do what works best for you. That is the best means of extraction.
I think it absolutely is. And that's really, I think, at the core of why we do what we do is we want something particular. Well, if the thing that we want in particular can be achieved with a modular part, that means, well, if someone else wants that, well, they can do that too. But if they don't want that, well, guess what? Pull it off and put something else on in its place. And so you don't have to like every aspect of every device.
Yeah.
You only have to like one.
And that kind of like, I know you have literally a tackle box with all your different parts and stuff like that, but I think that's actually a really interesting like visualization, because it's very much like choosing your tackle when you're fishing. You're choosing different things for
sure.
different outcomes. Like, what are you trying to achieve? You choose the correct part for that scenario.
Yeah. What time of day it is.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Who are you nearby? How much time do you have?
And I think that's something that has kept me going back to DynaJosh, because I have a collection of numerous different thermal extraction devices from over the years, decade plus at this point. But the fact that I can achieve pretty much regardless of the experience I want with a single device, just swapping out different parts, that's a big thing for me, because like there have been countless times where I'm like, oh, I'd really like that. Oh, fuck, where's my charger?
Right.
Or like, oh, where's that one? Oh, that's not compatible with it. Or I need to get an adapter for this to use that. It's, again, goes back to the thing that we mentioned at the very beginning, ease of use and hurdles. Like, if I run into an obstacle, a lot of the times I'll be like, well, I guess it's going to be a gummy night. Like, because I'm not willing to be like, no, I'm not going to go through those additional steps. I'm not going to go rummaging around for that piece.
No.
I'm going to take the easy path to get my desired outcome most of the time.
Or conservative, right? Because why should I expend all of this mental energy? Now, where the hell did I put that fill in the blank? Or the physical energy of searching, when all I need to do is pull this off and put that on.
Yeah, and that's been those that had seen me on like older streams, like when I would do the watch parties and things like that. You probably had seen me lose a cap or a tip at some point, and I'm just like, no, I'm not going to get up and rummage around for it, because it would happen almost every single time. Because again, the ADHD thing, I would set something down, forget where I placed it, it ended up being on my lap. I'd just be like, well, I have another tip right here to the left of me. I'm just going to swap that out. Done. And I'll look for it later. It's a problem for tomorrow or an hour from now, and not right now.
Not right now. But the modularity does have some problems. Like, I mean, I look in front of us right now. We're not even technically sashing. Look at all these parts. I mean, does this look familiar? I mean, when you're just having the end of the evening, whatever, I mean, random parts all over the place. And now it actually becomes a little bit of a Where's Waldo for that thing that you know you used at the beginning of the night, and you know it's on the table.
Yeah.
But where is it?
Yeah. And typically what I'll have to do is I'll have to line them up left to right and be like, I'm going to start here, try to put that here. But again, it's better in theory than practice, because as you consume, your willingness or ability to remember to put things back isn't always a possibility. But yeah, I tend to like try to start left from right and then go from there.
So you've got a process.
Try to. It's again better in theory than practice, because a lot of the times I'll be like, oh, I'm going to hit this one now because it just appeals to me in that moment. Yeah, that temporary amnesia is a perfect way to put it.
There you go. You know, I wonder if we could make like a baking tray that has slots or other various things for organizing the various components and or prioritizing or putting them in some sort of repeatable, memorable order.
Kind of like this thing.
Oh, yeah, like that. Oh.
Yeah, and my mind immediately kind of goes to the wholesale displays. Or like the trade show displays, because I'm always like, whenever I see those, I'm like, that would be perfect for me at home, because everything has their place. And it's a visual thing. Oh, something's not there where it needs to be because you have a clear empty location. It's a visual reminder, being like, oh, okay, you're kind of you're not following your
that sounds
rules.
like a 5S principle.
Yep.
Which gets us right back into that operational efficiency, right? Let's be efficient with what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. And then too, like going back to when Ben and we would shoot videos and stuff like that, we would have these wooden boards that had magnets interlaid. I think they were actually like originally designed for knives.
Yeah, those were great.
But really good use. Like, that's something too, like, just as a makeshift solution, get one of those, and they work really, really, really well. And also work as a heat sink too. So, like, if you're running multiple pieces at an event or something like that, like when I remember Las Vegas, when we were doing demos, the pieces just simply, if we didn't have that, they wouldn't have enough time to cool down, because you're dealing with a line of people. So it's like heat up, set down, heat up, set down, heat up, set down. You just have a constant rotation, and works really well for that purpose.
No, I think that's fantastic. Geez, Josh, I think we've covered a lot of ground here in terms of our two newest products, being the Spinley, which is available tomorrow, and the Cap Armor, which basically just went on sale like a week or so ago, with a limited release in December. So it's still kind of a new product.
Yeah, I've been really digging that, and that's one, like, for me personally, I like it a lot more than the Armor Cap, just because of that added flexibility and use case. Where I would say, like, the Armor Cap was a one size fits all, and it would give a similar experience. Your ability to really change it just was tip dependent. Now you have more variables, more control, and it gets more into that analog customization.
And being able to swap caps, whether it's the low temp cap or this perf cap or that perf cap, because there's different perf caps, and that can make a difference.
Yeah, I remember, because there was like the very first one had a unique pattern, then we had like the Halloween one.
Yeah.
I think there was a snowflake one at one point.
Snowflake, yeah.
But certain people, like, you'll see, like, in the community, really, really vouch for a certain specific perf cap. Well, now you personally can try and see what you like with the Cap Armor, because it's going to provide different experience. I try to refrain from saying the word better, because that's entirely subjective.
Yes.
What's better for one person, what's better for me, may not be better for you. And that's, I think, paramount when, talking to people about, oh, we'll try this. I don't even like really using the word upgrade, because it implies a superior experience. It's
so
means to change the experience. It's like if you're into turntables or record players, when you change your stylus, the little needle on it, different styli will have different tonality and audio characteristics that will have more mid-range or more bass. Doesn't mean one is better than the other. It's going to provide a different experience for what you're looking for. So
one might be better for one artist, but not for another.
And that's where I think experimenting and really playing around with the different parts and pieces, finding what works best for you, you're able to really fine-tune that and have no other means to achieve that type of goal.
You've got some really good analogies, and I think it helps kind of communicate a whole lot of the variability, the customization, and the ability to really make these products and their accessories perform to whatever it might happen to be that you, as the person driving, are seeking at that moment in time.
Yeah, and that can even be something as simple like with the YLL.
Yep.
You could try it with the adapter, without the adapter, what depth, what wattage. Every single one of those variables can cause drastic swings in terms of your experience. So, like, when you are kind of dialing things in, George, I'm sure you'll back me up on this, I recommend changing one variable at a time, because otherwise you're just throwing things at a dartboard blind and trying to chase, that change.
Yep.
Unless you know what caused that change, it makes it much harder to dial in. So try one thing at a time. Yeah. It's the same way when I would do like the snaps and things like that for heating techniques.
Yep.
Start with either flame height or your rotation speed, and then do the other one. So that way you know what that change is impacting directly, and just gives you more control as a user.
No, that's good advice. Sometimes it's difficult to follow, but it's still good advice. Because sometimes it is fun to, what the hell? Let's just throw this ridiculous combination together and see what happens.
and been there many a times, like with some of like there's third-party accessories out there. I don't use them as much anymore because we had the thermal hypercap for when I just want more in one
Right.
go. But there were times like Will and I, when we had session together, I had a quadruple pitchfork and we had 4 Vongs going at once, and one of them had a double pitchfork, so it was 3 people heating at a time and just going balls to the walls with it.
Now that'd be great with a Spinley.
It 100% it would, because that, let me tell you, that was a challenge. It was like, okay, you heat now. Oh, that one clicked. Okay, drop that in. Now we need to quick heat this one. Oh, it was like a chaotic symphony of clicks, but it was easier to do at the beginning of the session, not so practical towards the end.
Right. So, kind of like musical chairs.
Yep.
And just a whole lot of information that needs to be tracked. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sounds like occasionally fun.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's more of a novelty type of thing, just to see what you can accomplish and see what can be done. It's not something I would go back to, because again, that operational efficiency.
Right.
It was fun for the novelty aspect of it. Practicality, no. So it's not something that I would do routinely. And now there are other ways natively to, consume that much in a single go, like the Hyperdyne, that is far more practical and easier to do without needing to think.
Well, that point that you really hammer home, I think really resonates with me, and I do think it's worth elaborating just for a minute on. I think it's one of the core principles that we try to respect when it comes to designing a lot of our products. Mm-hmm. And that's, okay, we could make a product that is bigger and certainly more complicated and make it look more steampunk, etc. But what are we gaining by doing so? Mm-hmm. We're adding additional variables, we're adding additional costs, we're certainly changing the way things look, but are we reducing operational efficiency, both on the manufacturing side as well as on the customer-facing user experience side? And even though some of our products might appear to be really simple, well, I think simplicity is something that is somewhat misunderstood in some regards, in terms of simplicity is the goal. Mm-hmm. And getting to simple is difficult.
It's very hard. Like, even something as simple as, like, say, the G3, that was a little bit of a challenge at first, because
unreal.
Trying to find something that, because we went through a couple different iterations, and a couple of the first ones, it's like the heat was just,
it was wrong.
It was wrong. It was going too fast. It was prone to combustion. Finding that sweet spot, because you don't have that mass as a buffer.
No.
And so it's pretty much, as soon as you heat up, that heat is transferring to that flour inside.
And then you get the durability factor and cleanliness, and just there's so many factors that need to be balanced. So really, the pursuit of simple is it's the long game of iteration and refinement. And I get a lot of appreciation, not just for the products that we make, but when I come across another product that someone else has made. If I've got this really cool pocket knife that, it's like, I bought it off a Kickstarter campaign. Just thought it'd be a neat thing, nice thing to do. And I got it, and I was like, wow, this thing's actually really nice. And I'm looking at the design, it's like, oh, look at that. They're using a compliant mechanism instead of having 2 or 3 parts. It's 1 part. Okay, that's really smart. Well, what about it? Oh, it's got an extra blade storage too. Well, that's cool. And a little magnet to hold the blade so it doesn't fall out. Okay, that's neat. Where it's just these little nuanced details that matter.
Well, and on the surface, it looks simple, but it's not. It's kind of like comparing a manual transmission to an automatic.
Right.
Most people would find an automatic far easier to drive, especially if you've never driven a stick shift.
Right.
But underneath the hood, like, the automatic is far more complex.
Yes, it is.
So that complexity, when it comes to making things simple, is usually on the back end. just not something that is seen in front. Like, to make those things simple takes a lot more work here to make things easy for you.
Oh, someone wants to know about the pattern on the M7. Yep. That's, well, put it this way. Come visit us.
Yep.
And we'll show you how.
Yeah, the number of textures and stuff that we're able to produce now internally,
Oh, man.
it's insane. Like, going from, like, the 2017 M, which is
Right.
extremely simple,
Yeah.
to now something like the M7 swirls that have been out there,
Yeah, those are
vastly
fun.
different. And that's where, like, those grab bags that we did are so interesting because, like,
That was really satisfying to get those out.
I loved seeing the Reddit threads on those, or
Yeah.
be like, "Hey, can you ID this?" Many of those, there's no identification.
Nope, never seen that before.
Because they've never been widely released. They never had a name assigned to them internally, even.
No.
Because they were, like, I would say even pre-beta. It's something that
Oh, yeah.
not even necessarily our testing group got a hold of.
There might only be one.
Yeah, it's like we're just experimenting, seeing what we can achieve. How does this look? Because, you know, when we're deciding what items to release later in the year, we need certain proofs and being like, hey, this one worked. Oh, but what's the runtime on that? Well, that's not going to work.
Right.
Or how consistent are we able to get this finish? Well, it's not. There's going to be more variability. Well, then that's off the table. But we still have these units. We want to do something with them.
Yeah, and they just accumulated until finally, yeah, let's just throw them in a grab bag and see what happens. That way we don't have to try and take pictures of them and describe them and everything else.
Yeah.
And-
Oh, and that, like, when that happens, when it's like a whole bunch of units, like the DynaVault. The DynaVault, whenever that happens, Ben's inner child, you know, weeps a little bit because it's like, here's a dozen products that are only going to be available for a limited time.
Right.
They all need photos. They all need
Right.
website descriptions. So there's a lot of different pieces, and it's like, oh no. So there's a lot that goes into getting something up on the website. Oh,
Yeah.
20 months combustion free after 18 years.
That's
That's huge.
awesome. And that's the stuff that just, I don't know about you, Josh, but when I see these little comments, whether they're directly coming in a stream like this or I see them somewhere else out on the internet, it really gives me energy to see that, yeah, we're not just making these because we're kind of nerdy and we want to make cool things. We're making them because we actually have a purpose. And giving people an alternative to consuming whatever your reason for consuming what you're consuming, we literally, that's not our
Yeah,
concern or focus.
That's your business.
Okay. But if we can give you an avenue that is more appealing or potentially even, how should I say, more conducive to what your body is looking for, that's a big part of what we care about.
Well, and making sure that that's a perfect way to put it, George, because, like, if something doesn't do what you expect it to do or what you want it to do, you're going to fall back into those old habits, even if they're detrimental to you.
Yes.
It's kind of like dieting or something like that.
Right.
If you meal prep, it's a lot easier.
Sure.
Because, you know, you have everything prepared for you. You don't really have to think. You're kind of putting on an autopilot.
You don't have to seek.
If you're doing everything day by day, you're going to run in those obstacles and be like, you know what, it'd be a lot easier just to order a pizza right now than have to, you know, prep all the stuff.
Right.
And so, like, it gets into that. But, yeah, it's what got my wife to stop combusting.
Okay.
Got me to stop combusting. Even though I didn't do a ton of combusting beforehand, I've always been more of a thermal extraction person.
Sure.
But, like, Vincent Weed, who was in here earlier, whenever I talk to him, he always talks about how it got him off of smoking. High Priority, who I mentioned earlier, he stopped combusting. It's, I think, being able to kind of toe that line right before combustion would take place, you're able to achieve something that electronic thermal extraction devices just have a hard time doing because
Yep, they struggle.
because if you get to that, you're going to start burning out electronics because fire plus plastics or
Bad idea.
heating elements or things like that just don't mesh well.
No, and also, combustion residues and plastic, they don't part easily. Versus, I gotta believe that at some point you've combusted in something like what's on the table.
Oh, absolutely. Everything that you've seen, I've probably combusted in. Like, because, again, when it comes to testing products, I will try to, I'll do good heating technique and I'll do really shitty heating technique. To be like, okay, how is it going to function if I am just torching in one way? Okay, that's not working. Okay. Other products will fare better with that. Like you've shown the M7 or the B, you don't really need to. Do I necessarily recommend that for most people? No, but can it be done? Absolutely.
Well, if you overshoot, well, now you've got some less flavorful residues in there. And the beautiful thing is, they can be cleaned. ISO works really good.
Oh, cleaning Dynavap is, even though I avoid doing it, as I previously mentioned, it's still far easier than some other products or some devices out there that, you know, cleaning becomes a chore where I'm having to grab a toothpick, remove O-rings. Oh, this part isn't solvent safe. Well, now I need to get in there with a scrub brush.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I don't. I just want to get back to, you know,
something else.
And that's why I've had products like that. Well, I'm not going to touch that one. I'm going to really put it off and procrastinate because I have other options available.
Well, you know, that reminds me of something I was going to ask you earlier as we were sipping on our tea. Have you ever cleaned your, we'll say, combustion-free products that could benefit from a bath in a cup of tea or coffee?
Many times. That's another reason why I'm glad you mentioned it. That's part of the reason, too, why I put off cleaning as much as I can, because I view that kind of as an ancillary benefit. Like, especially around this time of year, I like making hot cocoa and with milk and just dropping a piece at the bottom and then put the boiling liquid inside. But I'll do that with coffee, with creamer, or tea. I tend to prefer something with some fat in it.
It doesn't really work otherwise.
Yeah, I think it just helps bind, but it cleans fairly well. And then I'll just do a once over when I'm done with a Q-tip and just some cleaning solution. And it's, for the most part, spotless. I will say, though, if you've gone a while without cleaning, clear your calendar for that afternoon.
So it can be a bit powerful.
It can be, because, like, with any form of, like, edible, especially with something like that, you can't really dose it because you're dealing, like...
Right. How would you?
Yeah, and so there have been a couple times where I've had to cancel
or
plans.
Rearrange.
Yeah, because I'm like, I didn't expect it to
be that
affect
good.
me that much, and it's like, okay, I'm going to be here for the foreseeable future. And so that, I would say, if you're doing like stem milk or anything like that, err on the side of caution. Give yourself plenty of time afterwards, because you don't know how long that's going to last. If you've ever had an edible that was too strong, same type of experience.
Well, it's good to hear you say that. I think it just makes me grin every time I think about it.
Oh, and it gets back to
operational efficiency.
Exactly. It's like, because I'm viewing that stuff that's inside, that's still functional. There's a use to that. Why would I want to throw that away? It's the same reason.
Sure.
Why I save my ABV or AVB, depending on what you want to call it. I save all that because there's still use to that. Is it going to be as good as like fresh decarboxylized flour? No. But does it still work if you have enough of it?
Yeah.
Yes. And so, like, if I can get more out of something without needing to invest more money and still streamline that process fairly well, I'm going to do it.
Well, the part I like the most is, I could go for a cup of tea. Well, I'm going to make my tea anyway. So you're telling me, since I'm going to make my tea anyway, let's say that effort is free, because I was going to do it anyway. And now I can take my device that I was going to clean anyway, and I'm just going to take the cap off, and just drop it in there. And now I've reduced the effort of cleaning my device by doing almost no additional work, but leveraging something I was doing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get that ancillary benefit of not only is it streamlining the cleaning process, but in terms of the extraction efficiency, well, that just went way up.
Yep, it's killing two birds with one stone, and that always feels like a win. It's like it's a little, again, another analogy, but it's kind of like when I go to the casino. If I don't win, that's fine, as long as I'm getting enough like water, drinks, or something like that.
Right.
I'm getting benefit from my time.
Okay.
And so like that tends to be how I view things. Yeah, no left turn on stones. That's a good one.
I haven't seen that one before. That's great.
But yeah, like it's because it's, and you don't even need to necessarily drop the entire piece in there. Like too, like if you just have a dirty condenser, you can just kind of stir it in there, and it'll clean a surprising amount, and you'll start to actually see some of those oils start to float up to the surface.
Yep.
And you'll see it, and you'll taste it a little bit, but
but the creamer, don't understate the value of that.
It's paramount.
Okay. Even if you don't generally put creamer or much creamer in your coffee or tea, the creamer functions as the means of helping those oils separate from the surface of your components and remain in suspension.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think too, it's how your body will process as well. It's the same reason too. Like if you're doing, I saw someone mention firecrackers earlier, like taking your ABV, putting some Nutella or peanut butter or something on there. You want something that will help bind all of that.
Yes,
and
you need some oil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the oil just matters. Yeah. Oh, someone's gonna buy a tea set. Oh, how fun is that? Yeah. Nope. In the clear water pipes, sure.
Love those. Like that's the BB3s.
Yeah.
Like seeing that, it's like watching. For those that play video games out there, it's like watching your experience bar fill up, and when it gets dirty enough, reward. And
that's when you level up. Huh?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That totally makes sense.
Well, and it makes sense because you need a long rest after.
Yeah. No, that's really good.
Hummus is another good thing to use it for. A little bit of that, because I think hummus too.
Yeah, you get some oil in there.
Mm-hmm. And there's enough. I think it's a strong enough flavor too, where some of those, like unpleasant flavor compounds, tend to get masked.
Well, so speaking of that, give us a fail. An ABV fail. Come on, that has got to be a
Not one
good
for
one.
me personally.
Okay.
But for my wife.
Yeah.
I don't know why she asked for this, because she's not a huge fan of avocados in general.
Okay.
But she's like, just put a teaspoon of ABV on half of an avocado and give it to me, and I'll just eat it like that. Was not a pleasant experience. She didn't care for it, because it's like, ABV by itself, it's not particularly the most pleasant.
No.
And then you're adding in something that you don't particularly like. And then when you mix it up, it just kind of looks like unpleasant, especially as an avocado starts to oxidize and turn brown.
Well, then it kind of looks like ABV.
Yeah, and
Now you got ABV grease.
it just kind of looks like shit. And it led to like half of the ABV getting eaten out of that, and the rest of it just went in the garbage because it was not pleasant.
Okay.
But that would probably be the biggest one. The other one I would probably say would be just overdoing it on ABV in a sandwich. It was too much. Like a peanut butter sandwich. It did not taste great, and because I put too much of it on there, and then once it hit the stomach, it was just not great. It was.
Okay.
How about you?
You know, I'm again on the other end of the spectrum. Most of my ABV ends up somewhere in the grass or something along those lines, because it would take so long to accumulate it. And then again, from an operational efficiency perspective, now I have to do something with this. So for the most part, I don't even bother with it.
I will typically store it up for a significant amount of time, and then I'll
Okay.
do a tincture, either with coconut oil
Okay.
or Everclear, and use that to make gummies.
So, okay, now as far as the tinctures are concerned, I've done a little research on this, and it seems like a fair number of people like to wash it first, which entails effectively just soaking it in water and changing the water multiple times until the water doesn't gain a lot of color or aroma.
Yeah, it's like washing your rice.
And it just gets rid of, certainly not all, but we'll just say a fair amount of undesirable stuff.
Yeah, well, like if you're doing, because tinctures, you're dealing with highly concentrated, like if you're doing it directly, you don't want that really grassy flavor.
Right.
But if you're doing in edibles, you want those edibles to be really tasty.
Right.
Like, because it's typically something that you're not going to necessarily be ingesting yourself. If you give someone a blue raspberry gummy and it doesn't taste like blue raspberry, you think they're going to be like, oh, that was great. No, they're going to be like, why did that taste funky?
More of a grassy than a gummy. No, those aren't great.
Yep, Fat Panda Frank, great username, by the way.
Yeah.
Got their spin lead today and having a lot of fun spinning it. It gets addicting. Like
It's hard to put down, isn't
I
it?
have one on the one that I had, because I have a little pen thing,
Yep.
the DynaPen,
Yep.
on there, and it's kind of like almost like the clicker on it now, where I'm just like rotating it and then writing. It's definitely a nice little stim for
Yep. For those of you that know what that is.
for the fellow neurodivergent folk out there.
And something tells me that maybe the Dynaverse has maybe just a slightly higher concentration of those folks than the general population.
For sure, but I think like the mix and matching, like there's a lot of hobbyist DNA.
Oh yeah,
that
for
is
sure.
in the Dynaverse that I think go hand in hand.
Yes, and by the way, the Spinley does fit in the DynaStash.
Yeah.
The diameter of the Spinley is no bigger than a Hyperdyne,
Yeah.
on purpose. Yeah, all just fun stuff. What else do we see in there? Whole milk.
Oh, the Gunpla, the Gundam. Yeah, very good analogy.
Okay. See, I don't know what that even is.
Yeah, it's like Gundam models and stuff like that. I have a couple friends that are really into it.
Okay.
It's not my cup of tea. I think they're cool, but it's like putting together those pieces and stuff like that. I personally don't have the patience for it. It's the same way like with doing big puzzles. I think you're a puzzle fan, aren't you?
Well, I think Lori likes puzzles. I'm not going to say I dislike them. It's one of those things that once it lands on the table and the assembly begins, it can be engaging. But the problem is, now those other things that I was going to do tend to not get done because, I'm looking for things. Now the mechanical puzzles. I don't know if you've messed with those much, Josh, but it started with the bent wire ones, which are kind of things that the kids play with. But there's a brand, I think, from Japan that makes these cast puzzles that you got to get them twisted just right, and some of them are incredibly difficult, and they're made out of cast stainless steel, so they're very, very durable, and they're really difficult to force, because it's with those until my fingers are starting to feel numb, even though you're not forcing it. But I know even like with the Spinley and like I've got a hyper tip on here, there's some angular and some sharp spots that actually feel kind of nice a few times, but if you just keep doing it, it starts to get annoying.
Yeah, you create like a little hot spot.
Yep.
On your finger. It's like when you eat too many warheads and your tongue gets sore. It's just you're constantly just bombarding a single spot with either friction or pressure.
Yeah, Sen Rubin knows what I'm talking about. Hanayama. The cast puzzles.
I'll have to look those up.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, because like the regular, like the 10,000 piece like jigsaw puzzles and stuff like that, I'm entertained by them for 20 to 30 minutes. After that, I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to move on to something else. It's the same way I am with Lego. I love
Right.
Lego,
Yeah.
but I don't want to sit and do the entire Death Star in one sitting, because I would get bored.
Okay, so if you manage to strip the bolt in your DynaStash, fear not. The solution is simple, and it might actually surprise you. It's called a toothpick. So take the bolt out, and take a toothpick, put it in the hole, snap it off, maybe cut the end off with a knife, and for the most part, you should be able to thread the bolt right back in. If it's a bit much, you may have to shave your toothpick a bit, but in the past, this has solved the problem for most people.
I see someone asked too about the microphone cover that you have on here.
Oh yeah.
That's something that you 3D printed here, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love 3D printers. Have you played with one? I mean, a lot of people take them home.
I have
play with-
not.
Well, why not?
Couple reasons. A, don't really have the space because I'm a pack rat myself.
Okay.
And so, like, trying to find something that's a place where the cats at home wouldn't be messing with it, which
Sure.
is would be a challenge. Like, I'm the kind of person I would probably like one at my desk, sure, because then it can just be running. But
Well, that's even more fun because then
yeah.
now you get another reason to be distracted.
I remember having some fun though. Like, we made some very funny little 3D printed prank pieces with one of the engineers years ago, and just left them in one of the other engineers' drawers.
Yep.
Like, took the stuff out of his drawers and just put a bunch of these little things in there. So that way, when he would get back from vacation, he would just open it up and be bombarded.
Not find what he's looking for.
Yeah, and I think stuff like that is kind of fun. Like, they were always printing something kind of unique and irreverent.
No, I think the 3D printers have really revolutionized how we go about doing things, and it's not just us. I mean, how many other companies that make things are leveraging that technology anymore? In fact, some of the things that we're developing with the help of some contract manufacturing, it's really nice that I can send them a file, and one company in particular, I even suggested that they get one of the same models that we have as a 3D printer, and then I can just send them a text message, and I've got their 3D printer in the address book, and I can send the file to their printer with all of my settings and know definitively that it's going to print the right thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think when it comes to like prototyping things out, it's very important to see if the dimensions would work. Like, if you've used a bee, if you've used like one of the, I would say like the Sling Stash or
Yep.
the current
For sure.
pins, those all use 3D printing at some point during
absolutely.
the development process, because you're able to kind of do small runs of something to see if
Check
it's
fitment.
even feasible.
Yep. Well, the bee is, I think, a really interesting example, because the bee is one of the first products that not only did we do 3D printing for some of the initial idea genesis, et cetera, and design refinement, but we leveraged the printers in a different way, because we knew that we wanted the bee stem to be silicone because you can get nice colors and it's a pretty decent quality material. Well, the problem is there's not a good way to print with silicone, at least if there is, we didn't have access to it at that point in time. So what do we do? Well, how about we 3D print the negative of what we want, and we get some silicone, and we mold the shape out of actual silicone, and we'll just 3D print the molds. Well, when you've got the CAD files, we can do that. And so just another one of those beautiful things that additive manufacturing is just phenomenal. So good. So good.
Yeah, it's such a useful tool. Is there anything like, because we've, from like the giant cap that's sitting right here, that
Yes.
cap stand, what are some of, like, I would say, the things that you wouldn't have expected 3D printing to be useful that kind of surprised you?
Well, probably the number one thing is the components of a lot of our automation. Because when I can remember buying the first 3D printer that we bought for Dynamap, and this was back in the Scale House days. I can even remember having a discussion with one of the engineers at the time. He's like, I'm thinking about getting this 3D printer, and he was like, yeah, what do you need that for? Those are toys. Like, I really think we'll find some utility for this thing. And so I bought it, and I can remember then it showed up one day. It's like, okay, and here comes back to the operational efficiency. I didn't want to have to try and figure this thing out. So it's like, hey, I think it was Joe. I said, hey, Joe, you want to take this home and figure it out? And I think it was like 2 days later, he came back, and of all things, he gave me a Lego. I printed this.
Genius use for it, though. Like, thinking about it, how many times have you been, like, making a Lego thing?
And you're short.
Exactly. And it's like, well, good. You're not, like, sure, you could probably spend, hours looking for that piece because you know it's someplace. Or you could just be like, you know what? This is a naughty piece that's going to be seen. I'll just print it. Yeah,
exactly. And it actually goes further than that because, of course, this was in 2017. I think it was 2017. Might have been even late 2016. Which it wasn't the first 3D printer that I had and I was messing with. It was just the first one I bought, for Dynavap. They weren't very good back then. They were such a pain in the ass. This one had a glass print bed, which try and get prints off of that thing, you literally had to put them in the freezer. It was really irritating. But when he brought me the Lego, well, the Lego is such a beautiful means of judging accuracy because if you can't take a regular Lego and fit it just right, and if you've ever played with Legos, you know how they're supposed to feel. It should feel the right way. Well, if it fits and it feels right, well, that means your 3D printer is dialed in.
It's actually ingenious way to, like, QA.
Well, it's really fun because it helps you understand how things are functioning. And then, it grew from there to now there is a complete repository of, I believe, like 98, maybe 99% of every single Lego brick ever made is available in a file that you can 3D print.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay, so that piece that you don't have, well, yeah, you can print it. Now, it won't look quite the same. Might be not quite the right color. It might not be as transparent as some of the transparent ones, but the fact is, not having it is not going to be the limiting factor, provided that you have access to a decent 3D printer. So, yeah. But once we got the printer and started doing more things with it, it literally got incorporated into some of the first pieces of automation that we designed in-house, because they make for such a fascinating way. Okay, I've got this piece of PVC pipe, and I got this piece of aluminum extrusion, and I need to connect the two. Well, you can't really weld it, and there's not really a good way to glue it, and I don't really want to drill a whole bunch of holes and try and figure out some way to bolt it, and I don't want to use duct tape. So what do? Well, you go into CAD and you draft the PVC pipe. It's cylinder, it's really easy. And then you go online to Thingiverse and you get the mating geometry for your aluminum extrusion, and so you get your bolt spacing, and in 10 minutes you've been able to construct the part that you need to mate the two pieces, and you send the file to the printer and you go do something else until now, shit, it's too tight. Well, scale it, print another one. That's better. Now I need 4 more. Great. You get 4 more.
Well, and that's kind of like what I got to see firsthand with some of like the automation behind the scenes, that, there's just weren't the parts available, like, from a manufacturer to make some of the things that we needed to do.
No,
but with a 3D printer, you're able to very much democratize that part of the manufacturing process, because we were able to develop something entirely in-house without the limiting factor of relying on, a part being made by someone in another country or what have you. It's just like, we'll print it. Oh, it's not the right size. Well,
we'll adjust it.
Yeah. You can really manipulate and have full control over that. And without that, I don't think, like, Dynavap as a company would be where we are right now, because everything would have to be done
Not a chance.
by hand, and
No.
that's just not feasible for the number of customers that we want to be able to take care of.
Really funny that you put it that way, because I just hadn't really thought about it in that fashion before. Yep. The 3D printers were paramount. They were an absolute paradigm shift that really set the stage for us to become what we are. And we would be but a small fraction of what we are if we hadn't gone down that road when we did. They were that vitally important to the evolution of the company and the products.
Yeah, like some of the old like making of videos, like having to hand crimp caps and things like that. Like it's just trying to fill a wholesale order. You'd have someone there just having to
Yeah.
crank, and then you have
Yep.
repetitive motion injury type thing.
Spindly goes on sale tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, right away in the morning for $35.
Yep, $35. No, that really, really changed everything. And another fun detail that I like to point out occasionally when people come for a visit. By the way, if you want to see more of this stuff in person, we welcome people coming for a visit. We love giving tours. We've got a lot of cool things we love showing off and sharing. We just don't want to put them on the internet because we do have a little bit of secret sauce here. But no, the thing I was getting at is a lot of the automation components are 3D printed, so we could really refine how our products flow through them. And since we're designing these products and these components, it's like, well, how do we keep track of what's what and what iteration it is? Well, the cool thing is you can literally just sync letters and numbers right into the print. So the components that we print, especially on the automation machines, have a number that correlates to a specific file, so that if you break the part or it wears out, you can literally look at the part. Oh, it's got a number on it. So I go to the file repository and I grab that number and I just hit print and I get a new one. And I know which one I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And I know which version it is.
Well, then you're not having to eyeball or test something physically. You can just look at it. And,
You just know.
yeah.
And you don't have to worry about the label falling off because it's literally integrated into the part. Sounds like operational efficiency.
Yeah, I think that's the central theme of today's stream, for sure. But I think it's one of the most, if not the most important thing of manufacturing. Like, if you can do something more efficient, you're able to serve more customers. You're able to offer things at more advantageous price points for customers, which is another big thing. Because, like, when it comes to Dynavap, like, I would say we wouldn't be here without, we were able to open the thermal extraction experience to people that was previously behind, a $300 price point 10 years ago.
Right.
And that's a big thing for people. Like, sure, it's better for your lungs and things like that, but if you have the option of, well, I need to eat, or I can get this thing that's nearly $400 to thermally extract my cookies, most people are going to choose to put food on the table. But if they can afford, something like the G3,
Right.
that opens them up to a whole nother world of consumption without breaking the bank. And that's our whole goal, is to be able to get as many people to stop combusting as we can. I think that's the core mission. You've said it many times before, but to make smoking history.
Because we can do that.
And if the barrier to entry is cost, well, that's why we have things that start as low as $39. And if you want something with more bells and whistles or features, sure, we have that too. But we will never abandon that affordability, because that we know that's what brought so many people to the table in the first place.
I think it's where the communication or the community is based. It's where a large number, I think, of our community members, they came in because they weren't quite sure if it was worth it, but they figured they could risk $20 or $30, whatever it is. And then there's this multiplier effect that I really like, and I think many people have experienced it, and that's, this device improves your mileage.
Oh, by far. Like,
I mean, like quite a bit.
it's kind of nuts. Like comparing to like, so I do have some friends that they're just like, no, they're smokers through and through. They're kind of stuck in their ways, going through because it's not like they're consuming the equal number of times the amount of money that they are spending on material is astronomically higher. They're like, well, I'm still on the same thing from the last time we went to the store. And they're like, well, I've had to go 2 more times. Well, this is why I'm trying to get you to go this way. There's multiple benefits, whether it be efficiency in terms of how long your stash lasts, flavor, the benefits to your lungs. But yeah, there's countless little small benefits, and the most important benefit for you might be different than one for George or myself. But there are very, very many.
Well, I just think it's particularly nice that if you just take one of our most expensive products, for example, Hyperdyne with thermal hypercap. It's not cheap. Do you need it? No, don't need that.
No.
But if you're coming from the condition where you're generally lighting your flower on fire, even if you only use it half the time, there's going to come a point, typically sometime within the matter of a few weeks to a few months, where you will have conserved enough of your expensive material that this product is now paid for itself.
Well, and that's like,
so it becomes free.
Yeah, we've mentioned the flavor thing too. It's like sometimes what I'll recommend people, like once they try it and they're like, oh, this works. Okay, now take what you have saved and purchase better material.
Right.
And you're going to open your to be like, oh, you didn't know it could taste that good? Yeah, it's because you were burning through so much stuff. You were combusting it, so your flavors are not going to be as pronounced or even there to begin with. But then you're able to, go for some more, I would say, boutique cookies that are, very well curated and delicious. But
and
that
tend to be very expensive.
Yeah, even in like,
small amounts,
you can be surprised, even in like more affordable locations. But it makes a difference. For sure it does.
Well, just how nice is it though that you get to have your cookies and eat them too?
Well, and we actually have a calculator on the website too. If you're kind of curious, you can put how much you consume in, I believe, a month period, and it will tell you how much you will save in a year. And so it's a very useful tool and kind of helps visualize long term the financial benefits in terms of stretching your stash.
Yeah. If you needed another reason, right? and again, none of this conversation was intended to be salesy.
Yeah.
It's just basically just share a little bit because we haven't been on a stream together in a while, and I thought it might be kind of fun. And for who you are and the role that you play, it's such an interesting contrast from the role that I play, and so incredibly useful because I think another thing that's probably worth just at least touching on for a little while is you, in my opinion, Josh, are the community's advocate. I would say more so than anyone else in the company.
Yeah. I would agree that, like, George can probably testify, I can be quite tenacious in meetings when certain things come up because I see, like, a big part of, I would say, the majority of my job is seeing all the feedback out there. And so I really want to put power to those words, even though I may not respond because I'm unable to or don't have a response at that time. Doesn't mean that you won't have an advocate internally, because I will want to vocalize that, because the quieter you are, the easier my job is, and it gets to that operational efficiency. If I can make you guys happy, I'm going to do what I can to make that happen.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, and so I have no problem getting a little bit testy in meetings sometimes, because I hear your voice and I want to make sure that they're heard.
Well, I like to mention it because from an emotional perspective, when I get a direction in my head, I have a fair amount of resistance to change direction. And there's been many occasions where you become the resistance. Sometimes it's unpleasant, at least for me to accept that. However, it's usually really, really worthwhile. And I find, okay, just stop for a second, just listen. Even if you don't agree, there's almost guaranteed something relevant there that's worth reconsidering before we continue going down that path.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a more important dynamic to have in any organization than the ability to have these, we'll call them qualified confrontations, especially if we can execute them in a reasonably respectful fashion. This is a huge component of progression.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and that's due to like every time you comment on like our Discord, our Instagram, our YouTube, our TikTok channel, I'm the one seeing all of that. And so I tend to distill that information down and transfer that information up the chain and try to package it in a way that kind of makes sense, and get them to see your perspective. And like Reddit's another big one. So like when we see an issue, and I'm usually like, if I see, one comment, okay, that's usually okay. If I see multiples, I'm like, okay, this is becoming a bigger issue. We need to get this up the chain and get that moving. And so, yeah, I'm actively talking to, the dev team, the product team, and all of that, because without the customers, without the Dynaverse, we wouldn't be here. So I think it's paramount to make sure that, that community is seen and heard, because the customer is always right in matters of taste. So it's making sure that taste is known.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And it's another interesting dynamic that, like the 3D printers, if it weren't for the internet and for some of the online communities that have discussions, both positive and negative topics regarding our product, we just could not exist in any way near the fashion that we do today, because it's the things that our community talks about, especially the things that they don't like, that have helped us refine what we're doing, I think, in some very meaningful ways. We don't know everything.
Yep. No, we only know what we know, and the thing is, you don't know what you don't know until you're confronted with it. And that's why I think it's always important to be vocal. Even as long as I think you're respectful in how you deliver the message, like if you're displeased with something, feel free to communicate it. I think that's so important. Just don't be a dick about it, and you're more likely to get your way. I think like if you're extremely brash and rude, then it's like that's kind of the only thing that people will see. And so a lot of the time when I communicate those messages, like if I need to copy and paste something and you're an asshole about it, well, that's all that's going to be seen. So I try to repackage that in a more palatable way a lot of the times. But it also helps too, like when interacting, you catch more flies with sugar or honey than vinegar.
Right.
And so it goes a long way. Treat people how you want to be treated. And I think that's a good ethos to kind of live by.
Except for fruit flies.
Yeah.
I think fruit flies actually like vinegar.
That's the only benefit of the winter, man. That's the only... I can't stand this weather here when it's cold. But at least you don't deal with fruit flies at this time, because that's always a pain in the ass. Like, Wisconsin really only has, I would argue, maybe a month of great weather, and that's fall. Because our summers are muggy and humid as all hell. My asthma and that don't agree. Spring is just muck. And winter, it's pretty, but it sucks driving, and it gets freakishly cold. Like, there's really... Wisconsin weather and me are constantly at odds. How about you, George?
Well, have you, with the spring and, the asthma type things, have you tried honey?
I have. I typically am.
The local honeys tend to be useful for a lot of people that have those type of allergy.
Yeah, the
type
allergies aren't
reactions.
usually too much. It's more so like I just hate having to walk through mud. Like
Oh,
I have
okay.
several dogs and stuff like that, and so I'm like,
Oh, right.
they're bringing that in, or I'm bringing
Yeah.
it in, and it's
And
just
then you got to deal with that.
yeah. I'm like just give me cool and relatively dry, and I am very very happy.
Sure.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like where you live in. Yeah, Canadian, like very similar ecosystems to our friends up north for sure.
Yeah. No, I love this. Well, cool. This has been, I think, a pretty phenomenal stream.
Well, thank you, George.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having
taking
me on.
time, sharing with everyone here.
Yep.
I think we could go on for hours, but I think you got other things going on, and I'm supposed to be traveling north. We'll see what the weather's like when I look outside.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not looking forward to Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben's birthday is on Saturday, and he canceled all of his stuff that he had going on. He's like, no,
Okay.
I'm not going to make people go out. So,
Okay.
but yeah, this has been fun. Little reminder: the Spin League is released tomorrow in the morning for 35. The cap armor is available now, and if you aren't already, make sure that you are signed up for the DynaVap Rewards program.
Right.
Because we have some really cool things planned with that in the very near future. So sign up if you aren't already.
That sounds like great information. So, anyway, thank you, everyone. We'll likely have another stream sometime next week. And, we've been switching up the days a little bit and switching up the times to kind of spread it around because we serve people in, I'd like to say, pretty confidently, almost, if not every time zone that there is, which is kind of neat.
Yeah. This is, I know, like the EU people, like it's tough, when it's 8 o'clock. Like when dealing like UFC fans or wrestling fans, their events
Sure.
are always in the evening. I'm involved in those communities as well, and I always see the complaint and be like, "Oh, it's 2 o'clock in the damn morning."
Right.
Well, early afternoon makes it a little bit easier for everyone involved, I think. So, but George, when can they catch you again for your next stream?
I'm not sure when it's going to be, but I would guess sometime Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. So we're just doing a few more weekday things for the near term, and we'll just see how that goes.
So just keep an eye on the socials for notifications on that. Stories is probably where you'll find that.
Yep, and we usually post on the Dynaverse Discord, so if you haven't joined the Dynaverse Discord, there's a lot of cool stuff in there too. So, until then, thank you everyone, and we'll likely see you next week.
Thank you all.